So if you are curious how these dripless honey valves work, we've got a couple here to show you. So you can kind of see what they look like on the inside and their general shape. This one right here is made in Turkey by a company called Savan. And then this one right here is made in Massachusetts, I believe, and that is made by a company called Maxant. And we have used both of these before. And just to kind of give you an idea, just a general overview of how these work. So this is threaded, and this would go into a threaded port on a tank. It would just screw right into it and hold tight. So the bottom of these both have a little opening right here. This is where the honey would come out. And then there is a lever that you use to actually operate the dripless valve. And the reason they call them dripless is because when you open this up, it pulls this open right there. And then as soon as you let go, it's supposed to seal that off so that honey cannot drip out of it. And they call them dripless, and they're pretty close to dripless. There's always going to be a little bit, so you can take your honey bottle, and after it's done filling up, you would just kind of give it a little bit of a smear, and that works very well for both of these valves. So they call them dripless because they just don't drip much, but it's really, they're not pure dripless. It's like a half a drip or one drip. So they has this lever right here that you pull it, and then it has this little bracket right here that it sits on, and a little fulcrum so that you can pull up on this. So you can see this one from Maxant glides really nicely, just like this, and it works very well. We've used this for many years, and we just turned our Maxant honey tank into a wax tank, so we took this valve off of it. So I'll give you an idea on the inner workings right here. The Maxant one, you can't see it as well, but I'll show you on the Savan one, but there is a spring on the inside right there. And so when you pull this mechanism, let's see if I can get you to see inside there. So when you pull this mechanism, it pulls up on this little rod, opening up that hole, the honey drips out, and then when you let go, it pushes back down there. So let's see if you can see in there. So you can see how it pulls open. There's a little bit of a gap, and you can see my finger kind of inside of that. On the very bottom of this little rod on the inside is a little gasket, little O-ring, and that seats directly up against the stainless steel on the bottom, and that like stops the drip. So you can see in there, you can see a little black O-ring on the very bottom. So here, let me get a flashlight so you can see. All right, so here's a flashlight. You can kind of see down into it. So I'll open it up, and you can see that valve, how that works right there. So the little black O-ring right there, it just seats right against the metal. So this one works really nicely. This Savan one right here, it has a larger opening. This port's a little bit bigger, and you can see it's got a really big spring in there. The spring on the Savan one is actually, I guess heavier duty is the right word, but it's a lot bigger both in length and in gauge than the Maxant one. So you can see that really, really well. And it's got that same kind of bottom where it has a little opening right here, and it presses against there to stop that drip. So here's the top of this one. You can see like this rod right here will slide against what looks like a rubber or plastic right there. It's got this same fulcrum. The rod is a lot longer on it. What we have noticed is that on the Savan one, because this spring is so heavy duty and just thicker than the Maxant one, this one is a little harder to operate. Like you really have to kind of like press down on this one to get it to pull up, whereas the Maxant one is a little bit smoother. And the Maxant one actually has like a little bit of a copper, looks like it rubs against a little copper sleeve right there. Which creates less resistance than this little rubber or plastic grommet in here as well. So this one's a little bit stiffer, works fine, but it is a little bit stiffer than the Maxant one. Let's see if I can hold it, we'll do the same thing. And you can see the inside right here. So yeah, so that yellow one right there, you can kind of see it's kind of conical down there. And it's got that yellow little gasket that seats up against the metal and stops the drip. So you can see it really well right there. These are the two dripless valves that we have seen and we have used. They're both good quality. We do like this Maxant one. I think it's got a little bit better design than the Savan one, but we do like them both. They both function really, really nicely. and they're a huge step up than the bottling bucket that we're all kind of used to with little plastic valves. So you cannot put these onto a plastic bucket. They've got to be threaded onto a metal bucket. So it's not like you can just buy this, put it on your plastic bucket and call it a day. These are just too heavy and they'll just rip out of the plastic. So even if you put a nut on the back, it's not recommended to do that. So hopefully you found this helpful. One thing I do want to add about this is they're all kind of default to a right-handed person, but if you are left-handed, you can unscrew these and then you can shift this around so that you pull with your left hand. Same thing with the Savan one. If you put a wrench on this and back this out a little bit, this piece right here will be loose and you can swivel this to the other side and you can bottle left-handed as well. So it's a little extra step to be able to do that, but it is possible with both of these.